Welcome to the celebration of the life of Buddha. Today we will chant some hymns and then there will be a talk by Swami Mahabodhananda on the life and teachings of selections from the Dhammapada. Karuna Sheetala Prajna Pratyota Vihatamu Hatamam Sanaramaraloka Gurum Vande Sugatam Gati Vimuktam Buddham Sharanam Gacchami Dhammam Sharanam Gacchami Sangham Sharanam Gacchami Buddham Sharanam Gacchami Dhammam Sharanam Gacchami Sangham Sharanam Buddham Sharanam Gacchami Dhammam Sharanam Gacchami Sangham Sharanam Gacchami Nahi Verena Verani Sammanti Dhakudachanam Averena Ye Sadhammo Sanantano Akkodhena Jine Kodham Asadhum Sadhuna Jine Kadariyam Danena Satchenali Yasindriyani samadangatani Asayatha saratina sudanta Pahina manasa anasavassa Devapitassa pihayanti talino Attaha vejitam seyyo Yachayam yitarapaja Attadantassa posassa Nityam sanyatacharino Naiva devo nagandhabbo Namaro sahavanmuna Jitam apajitam kaira Tatharupasajantuno Yocha vassa satam jive Kusito hina viryo Ekaham jivo Viryatrayaram Batodalam Sukham yavajarajilam Sukhasatthapadithita Sukhopannayaapatilabho Papanam makaranam sukham Usabham pavaram veeram Maheshim vijitavinam Anejam nahataka तमहं ब्रूमि ब्रह्मणम् आतकं बुद्धं तमहं ब्रूमि ब्राह्मणम्. Sri Buddha Stotram, hymn to the Buddha. Brahmaloke na cha devaloke na yakshagandha lokasya jati jarapane nanyosti tvatto hi manush vanditasvam suraisendra bhishchapi pujitah vaidya sarvasya lokasya vande vibho loke kleshagni santapte pradurбhuto mahahrada namostu bodhisattvaya sambuddhaya namo namah. Ajnanatimire Pradurбhuta pradipakah namostu bodhisattvaya sambuddhaya namo namah. Shokasagara-kantare Yana-sreshthasvarupakah namostu bodhisattvaya sambuddhaya namo namah. Kleshabandhanabadhanam pradurбхутah pramochakah namostu bodhisattvaya sambuddhaya namo namah. Jara-vyadhi kilpishanam pradurбхутah varah namostu bodhisattvaya sambuddhaya namo namah. Bodhisattvaya sambuddhaya namo namah. Namostu bodhisattvaya sambuddhaya namo namah. Namostu bodhisattvaya sambuddhaya namo. Say Tamil song on the Buddha. Shuddha Sharanam Buddha Sharanam. Shuddha Sharanam Buddha Sharanam. Shuddha Sharanam Buddha Sharanam. Siddha Sharanam Selva Sharanam. Siddha Sharanam Selva Sharanam. Veera Sharanam Maranai Vendra Veera Sharanam Pirakena Valum Periyoi Sharanam பிறக்கென வாழும் பெரியோய் சரணம். சுத்தா சரணம், புத்தா சரணம், சித்தா சரணம், செல்வா சரணம், கருணை பொங்கும் கண்ணா சரணம், கருணை பொங்கும் கண்ணா சரணம், அருளேயான பொருளே சரணம், அருளேயான பொருளே சரணம், போதி ஜோதி நாதா சரணம், போதி ஜோதி நாதா. மணி பத்மாஹும், மணி பத்மாஹும், மணி பத்மாஹும், மணி. சுத்தா சரணம், புத்தா சரணம், புத்தா சரணம், சித்தா சரணம், செல்வா சரணம், சித்தா சரணம், மாறனை வென்ற வீரா சரணம், வீரா சரணம், பிறக்கென வாழும், பிறக்கென வாழும் பெரியோய் சரணம், கருணை சரணம், உன்னை பொங்கும் கண்ணா சரணம், அருளேயான பொருளே சரணம், அருளேயான பொருளே சரணம், போதி ஜோதி நாதா சரணம், தி ஜோதி நாதா சரணம், மணி பத்மாஹும், மணி பத்மாஹும், மணி பத்மாஹும், மணி பத்மாஹும். சுத்தா சரணம், புத்தா சரணம், தா சரணம், புத்தா சரணம், சித்தா சரணம், செல்வா சரணம், தா சரணம், செல்வா சரணம், சித்தா சரணம், செல்வா சரணம், சித்தா சரணம், செல்வா சரணம். हे जगत्राता विश्वविधाता, हे जगत्राता विश्वविधाता, हे सुख शांति निकेतन, हे सुख शांति केतन, हे प्रेम के सिंधु दीन के बंधो, प्रेम के सिंधो दीन के बंधो, दुख दारिद्र्य विनाशन है, रुद्र दारिद्र्य विनाशन है, हे जगत्राता विश्वविधाता, हे जगत्राता, हे सुख शांति निकेतन, है नित्य खंड अनंत अनादि, नित्य खंड अनंत अनादि, पूर्ण ब्रह्म सनातन है, पूर्ण ब्रह्म सनातन है, जग आश्रय जगपति जगवंदन, आश्रय जगवंदन, अनुपम अलख निरंजन है, अनुपम अलख निरंजन है, हे जगत्राता विश्वविधाता, हे जगत्राता विश्वविधाता, हे सुख शांति निकेतन, है निकेतन, प्राण सखा त्रिभुवन प्रतिपालक, प्राण सखा त्रिभुवन प्रतिपालक, जीवन के a talk on the life and teachings of Buddha by Swami Mahabodhananda.
Om Stapakai cha dharmasya sarvadharma swarupini avadhara varishtaya Ramakrishnaya te namaha. Om Buddham Sharanam Gacchami. Om Sangam Charanam Gacchami. Om Gacchami. Welcome everyone to this celebration of the Buddha Jayanti. We do it in the Ramakrishna centers in the West especially. We observe Buddha's birthday and Christ's birth anniversary on the 24th night, and this is something that we do. Today in my short talk to you, I would like to do three things. I would like to give you an outline of the Buddha's life, what his life was all about, especially the four sights of Buddha that made him take to this monastic life. The second thing I would like to do is to go through the main teachings of the Buddha. The main teachings of the Buddha are two. First is the Four Noble Truths, and the second is the Eightfold Path. So I will discuss the Four Noble Truths and the Eightfold Paths. The third thing that I would like to do, if we get time, is to look at Swami Vivekananda's conception of Buddha and Buddhism. If you go through the complete works of Swami Vivekananda, you will see that he's delivered a few lectures. I'd like to go through those with you and discuss some of the salient points that Swami Vivekananda identifies about Buddhism. So with this brief introduction, I would like to go into the life of the Buddha. The Buddha was known as Siddhartha Gautama, and he was born in a kingly, born to a king. It took place in a place called Lumbini. It's near Kapilavastu in today's Nepal. He was born there to a king and his wife. His father's name was Shuddhadana, and his mother's name was Maya. And soon after he was born, they got his horoscope done. In India, a lot of people get their horoscopes done at the time of birth to try and to see what sort of life they will have. So he also had his life looked at by some oracles or rishis, and they said, and they told Suddhodana that this person will either be a king and rule a vast kingdom, or he will become a penniless monk, but he'll still have a big influence over the people. So now when Shuddhodana heard this, he was beside himself with fear, because he didn't want his son to become a monk. So what he did was to give his son Siddhartha, make available all the pleasures and all the things that could go against what life was really about. So he was and things that would distract him from a monastic life. So this Shuddhodana did. By the time he was about 16, Siddhartha was married to Yashodhara, and they had a son by the name of Rahul. And he from all perspective, he seemed to have a very comfortable life. He seemed to be very happy in his life because he was shielded away from all the bad things that happen in life. But one day, he was out of the kingdom. He went out to the outside world with his trusted friend Chana. He saw a man withering in pain, and he could not understand this phenomena because it was new to him. He thought, how is it that this person is withering in pain? And he asked Chana. Chana said that this is what is called sickness. It comes to everybody. You cannot get rid of it, but you cannot get rid of it. So Siddhartha was a little bit puzzled by this, because this was the first time that he had seen someone in sickness. Anyway, he thought about it and kept quiet. The next day, he was out again with Chana, and they saw an elderly man walking with a walking stick, with his back bent, as it were, and that also startled him. And he asked Chana, his assistant, what is this? Is this sickness as well? Then Chana said, no, this is old age. It comes to everyone when they reach a certain age. Their body is shaped by other things, and they are not able to do what they are used to doing. So this also made Siddhartha think twice. He said, what is this, Chana? Then Chana said, this happens to everyone. Anybody who lives past midlife will have to go through old age. It is a fact of life. There's nothing that can be done about it. So this also made Siddhartha think. On the third day, he was again out with Chana when they saw a funeral procession. I do not know if you people have seen the funeral processions in India, but usually they put the body on a bed, like a bed, and they carry it through the village or through the town, and there's a whole procession of people from the same village that go. So this person who had died was being taken to be cremated. So they stopped in front of the funeral procession, and Siddhartha asked Chana what this was. So Chana explained that this is death. This also happens to everybody. No matter if you are a king or a pauper, you are bound to die one day. So this also made Siddhartha quite thoughtful. When he came back to the palace, when he heard the peals of laughter and of pleasure and things like that in the kingdom, it felt distasteful to him. But he was still quiet. The next day, they go to the market, both Siddhartha and Chana, and they see this monk in like rags, in very unpresentable attire, with a begging bowl in his hand. He seemed to be begging for his meal. So this also caught the attention of Siddhartha, and he asked Chana what this was, who this was. To this, Chana replied that this person is a sannyasi or a monk, and he has given up the pleasures of life for a life of austerity and renunciation. Even though this person did not have things of the world, he or she still seemed to have a smile on his face. He seemed to be contented. Now that contentment caught the attention of Siddhartha. He started weighing things up. When he came back to the palace, he started to weigh things up and felt that the life of a mendicant monk seemed to have its attractions. So that night, what he did was that he said goodbye to his wife and Rahul, his son, who was sleeping at that time, and left the palace for the wilderness. Chana took him, and there, when he got to the place where the town stopped and the forest began, he changed his clothes into some rags, and he cut off and gave that to Chana to take back to the king and the queen. So this is how the Siddhartha, later Gautama Buddha, realized the transitoriness of life and felt a deep longing for emancipation. So this way he left the kingdom. In the forest, he came across some ascetics, some yogis who were practicing spiritual disciplines. He practiced with them, but still felt that he could not get rid of his ignorance. Then he left them and went and practiced austerities with another group of ascetics. Now these ascetics were denying themselves the basic necessities of life, like food, etc. So he tried hard, and he was reduced to skin and bones. And that made him think. He said that I have been practicing hard austerities with these other monks. I have not achieved anything. And then he felt that he has to go it alone. So he goes under a Bodhi tree and he meditates under a Bodhi tree where Sujata feeds him with some payas and he regains his strength. At the Bodhi tree, he takes a resolve to shiver or reach enlightenment. So he takes that vow, And then after some days of Mara was set to send him some temptations and things like that, which he did not give in to, he finally reaches enlightenment, the state of Buddha. Buddha is of enlightenment. So he gets enlightened, and then he seeks out some of the people that he was practicing austerities with. He gets them and he teaches them the middle path, Madhya Pantha, which is not living a pleasurable life, nor is it practicing hard austerities. It's the middle way. It's the measured way of practice. So this he learned. And he also, this lecture took place at the deer park near Saranath in Varanasi. And so the people that he practiced austerities with came and then became his disciples. In that sermon that the Buddha preached, he also talked about the three noble truths. The three noble truths are that there is suffering, there is a cause for suffering, there is an end to suffering, and there is a method to the end of suffering. So these were the three noble truths. Now, this is the teachings part. So now we come to the teachings part of this talk. I said that there were three parts. First is a brief talk on the life of Buddha. Second, on the teachings of Buddha. And third, Swami Vivekananda's ideas on Buddhism. So now we come to the three noble paths. Suffering is something that the Buddha claimed everyone has to go through. Now, in the Hindu scriptures, in the Sankhya Karika by Ishwar Krishnan, it is said that suffering is threefold. That there is Adhyatmika suffering, Adi Bhautika suffering, and Adi Devika suffering. Adhyatmika suffering is when it relates to one's body or mind. So you all know, you have all suffered in one way or another, and most of these things have been either physical or mental. Physical suffering is when we sustain an injury or something like that. Whereas mental suffering is now a major issue in countries, in first world countries like Australia. There are a lot of people who have mental health issues, and it is, I don't remember the statistics, but there are a lot of people are going through this type of adhyatmika suffering relating to the mind and mental health. Now this sort of suffering is very difficult to get out of. Adi Bodhika suffering is the suffering that we sustain from other beings. Those other beings can be people or animals. So when we suffer at work due to some of our colleagues who are playing politics or doing this or that, that is a type of Adi Bodhika suffering. Adi Devika suffering is the suffering that we endure due to the acts of God. We call them acts of God, but they are things like cyclones, bushfires, and things like that. We undergo suffering when we come across these natural calamities. So this is the other type of suffering that we endure. So this is, now I do not know if Buddha was the first to come across this idea of suffering, or if it was there in the Hindu scriptures. Because Kapila's Sankhya Karika, which was not Sankhya Karika, Sankhya Sutras, was actually compiled, but it's lost. So we do not know what was in the original Sankhya Sutras of Kapila. But Ishwar Chandra's work is a later work. So as a result, we do not know. So the first noble truth is that there is suffering in the world. The second noble truth is that there is a cause for suffering. Now this cause for suffering, according to the Buddha, is desire, tanha or trishna, is this desire. This desire acts as a cause to a number of things, and we are constantly trying to fulfill our desires. So getting rid of desire should be one of the things that we do. The third noble truth is that suffering has an end. This is the silver lining for us, that suffering has an end and that it can be gotten over. And the fourth noble truth is that there is a method leading to the end of suffering. So these are called the Eightfold Path. And this is what I am going to discuss with you next. The first of the 8 noble paths is right view. That is, this is essentially overcoming ignorance and having a complete and direct knowledge of truth. It's also called Samyak Drishti. Samyak Drishti is having a right idea about life. Now there are lots of people, religion is not very popular. In a country like Australia, there are lots of people who consider themselves to be not agnostics or atheists. As a result, people do not think about these things. Even we talked about Buddha's 4 sights. We talked about the death procession. People in countries like Australia are not fond of talking about death. Even though that is the one truth that is going to happen to us, still we do not think about death. We do not want to think about death. This is a tragedy of the current situation. So, Samyak Drishti is having a correct perspective in life. Correct perspective of life. The next one is right resolve, or Samyak Sankalpa. This is resolving to do the right thing. After you have your right view, after you have cleared your eyes and have had a good look at your situation in life, the next one is resolving to do the right thing and to live a good life. A life that is dedicated to truth and happiness. Next is right speech. It's also called Samyak Vak. This is right speech includes abstaining from lying, slander, and unkind or frivolous talk. One must carefully think of one's speech. In the Gita, also in the 17th chapter, there is a sloka Anudvege karam vakyam satyam pritam cha yat swadhyaya abhyasanam chaiva vangmayam tapauchyate. So this is anudvege karam vakyam, speech which causes no vexation to anyone. Satyam is truth. Priyahitam is what is agreeable. Swadhyaya abhyasanam, repetition of the Vedas, is considered to be an austerity of speech. So this idea is there in the Gita also. The next one is right conduct or action. Samyak karmantaha. And this is related to what is called the Panchashila. Let me share an insight with you that the Panchashila of Buddhism is almost the same as the Pancha Mahavratas of the Jains and the Yama disciplines of Patanjali's Yoga Sutras. So these are considered to be basic human need to be cultivated in life. They're almost the same except for the last one. So these are ahimsa, or desisting from destroying life; asteya, not taking what is not given or not stealing; brahmacharya, which is not engaging in sexual misconduct; satya, or truthfulness. And the last one, according to the Buddhists, is not taking intoxicants like alcohol and drugs. And these help us with right conduct or action. If you want something to help you manage these, then you should abide by these. Even the 10 commandments that were delivered by Moses, even these have these Panchashilas incorporated in them. So these are universal ideas. And nowadays you have the Universal Declaration of Human Rights. But if these values were incorporated into some sort of universal scheme, it will have a lot of value, because different religions, either because they exchanged ideas or because they came up with their own original ideas, all claim the truth of these Panchashilas. Next is right livelihood. One should not take to dishonest means or for one's livelihood. The next is samyag vyayama, right effort. In spite of right conduct, right livelihood, one may have strong tendencies or samskaras. These are in the subconscious, and we must believe that we have to repeat our efforts in order to get to it. It's not like one day you're going to have a sankalpa that you're going to do the right thing, and the next day you fail. You must believe in right effort, in the sense that you must practice over and over again. That is why this abhyasa is taught in Vedanta and also in other religions. Remember when Arjuna told Sri Krishna that the mind is hard to control and it's like the wind, Arjuna, the reply that Sri Krishna gave was that through abhyasanam, abhyasa is one of the ways through which to overcome these obstacles. Next is right mindfulness. A constant vigilance is stressed, and an aspirant should contemplate the body as body, sensations as sensations, and mind as mind. So I do not know if you have heard of this Vietnamese monk Thich Nhat Hanh. He has written some nice books, on the one on the life of Buddha and the other one on mindfulness. And now mindfulness is such a big thing in a lot has been said about it. But Buddha wanted us to not to be judgmental about negative connotations when they arise in the mind. You have to be non-judgmental. The next is samyak samadhi, or right concentration. So broadly, these are the central teachings of Buddhism. Now we come to Swami Vivekananda's ideas on Buddhism from his complete works. First, India worships Buddha as God incarnate. As you know there's the Dashavatara Stotram, and in that Buddha has been included. And I remember as a child seeing a video of the Dasavataram movie. So this is the way the idea of there being 10 avatars of Vishnu, of which one is the Buddha. So this is the way the Hindus have incorporated Buddha and his teaching into their fold, into their philosophy. The next idea is Buddha's advent was in response to the degradation that occurred in the Vedic religion through animal sacrifices. Let's see, this will take a little bit of explaining. Swami Vivekananda, in his lecture on Buddha's message, which occurs in the 8th volume of the complete works, says that in all religions, there is this conflict between the priests and the prophets. The priests are those who uphold the orthodoxy and are quite rigid in their approach to religion. They believe that it is only through them that people can achieve God. So the priests were the holders of power. They held all the power in society. Now, in the prophets, on the other hand, are more for reform. They want to get people to directly come across God. So in Christianity, for example, the priests were the Pharisees and the Sadducees. The Pharisees and the Sadducees were the Jews. Christ was born a Jew. Christ observed orthodox Jewish customs like the Passover and things like that. So, but the orthodox priests, who Swami Vivekananda, the Sadducees and the Pharisees, and they always questioned the doings of Christ. For example, Christ was walking through a field with some of his disciples, and he happened to pluck some things from the ground. To this, the Pharisees and the Sadducees accused him of working on the day of the Sabbath, because the Sabbath has to be held as a holiday where not a holiday but a day spent in thought of God, and Jesus was working. So this is just one example of the here Jesus is the prophet, and the Pharisees and the Sadducees are the orthodox priests. Now, this happened with respect to the Protestant Revolution also. Swamiji does not make this, he does not refer to this, but in Christianity, when Martin Luther broke from the Catholic Church in the 1500s, he did not want the dominance of the Church, especially the Catholic Church, the Pope and his representatives, saying that the only way to salvation was through them. So Martin Luther also was an example who began Protestantism. He was another example of a person who broke with the orthodoxy. In the case of Buddha, there were the Karmakandins. In last week's lecture, I talked about the difference between the Karmakanda and the Jnanakanda of the Vedas. There are two main classifications, but there is another classification which is fourfold, which is a fourfold classification. The Vedas can be broken into mantras or sanhitas, 1, into brahmanas, 2, aranyakas, and 4, Upanishads. The sanhitas or the mantras are the hymns and mantras of praise of the priests. But how that is applied to rituals is brought out in the brahmanas. So the priests were needed to conduct the yagas and the yajnas, to conduct the yagas and yajnas. And without them, if you are a king or a pauper, you would not be able to do that. You needed the priests. So, priests became very powerful, and they also used to sacrifice animals. And this the Buddha went against. So the Buddha went against these priests who were the power brokers in society. So this is another idea which is the basis to Swami Vivekananda's lecture, Buddha's message, which occurs in the 8th volume. With this, I would like to close because we're running out of time, but I just wanted to try to look at the life of Buddha, the teachings of Buddha, and Buddha according to Swami Vivekananda. Thank you. Om Sri Ramakrishna Paramastu.
We will make some offerings to the Buddha, and then we will sit in meditation for a few minutes and then conclude with prayer. maybe not cause misery to anyone. Let us pray to the Divine to make the earth a better place to live, where there are no conflicts and that there is universal brotherhood. Send thoughts of these prayers towards everyone, towards your right, জানা যারে সে জানে, তুমি জানা যারে সে জানে। সত্য মঙ্গল প্রেমময় তুমি, ধ্রুব জ্যোতি তুমি সত্য মঙ্গল প্রেমময় তুমি, ধ্রুব জ্যোতি তুমি অন্ধকারে। जय श्री गुरु महाराज।